Hey everybody, it's Dish. Welcome to the Knowledge Pool, a think tank of games and magic. On this small series of blog stuff, there's a few different video topics that I wanted to touch on that I just felt I shouldn't or couldn't make into a full video. I could do a video where I do multiple topics. That's not a problem. I can talk about something for as long as I need to talk about it. But when we are talking about civil discussion, we always want to talk about how long you should press on a matter. If you are defending a topic and you think that this topic is worth defending, sometimes you can go as long as it takes until you're blue in the face. You can talk for an hour, you can talk for 6 hours, and it never be boring, it never be circular, and you having something to say the whole time. However, sometimes you've just got one thought that you want to throw out there, something that you want to add into the conversation, and let it be known that you don't wholly agree with what's going on with the scenario according to what's been seen. In this case, I have one of those, and I also feel hesitant to do this topic, not just because it's against other more prolific YouTubers comments on the matter, but because it's a very unpopular opinion when it comes to these kind of things. I said the same thing in the last video regarding Strixhaven and the Harry Potter stuff. Another unpopular opinion I have is based off of something that I saw a couple weeks back. I'm sure a big portion of the audience noticed it. SaffronOlive had put out an article that talked about the price of Arena as far as he had considered it. I'm going to link that article in the description. I think it is a noteworthy thing to read. I think it's good to have the numbers that he found while he was doing his thing to talk about, to analyze, and to get an idea of what is and is not true in terms of what you're getting into when you get into something like Magic the Gathering. What I'm going to do is talk a little bit about confirmation bias and the ideas behind saying stuff like this using your own experience as a broad generalization. I want to start off by saying this is not a shot against SaffronOlive, who I believe is also known as Seth. I love SaffronOlive's work. MTG Goldfish is an amazing thing. I think most of the high-level YouTubers who might have put in a comment on this, such as I believe Pleasant Kenobi has a video talking about it in some place. If I can find it, link in the description. I believe that the professor from Tulare Community College has talked on this before at length. And I'm hesitant to go up against these big figures who have bigger opinions and a wider audience, but I do think that there's something to note when we talk about what we saw from SaffronOlive's article. So let's first talk about what the article is talking about. The article is expounding on how much money it cost SaffronOlive to play Arena last year. And I'm not going to give specific dates, those are in the articles, but basically through the course of a year, he said in order to keep up on products and things, one could spend around $1,700 based on the math that he got from spending money during Kaladesh Remastered in order to get the set. He had mentioned exactly his math on how he did things, and I very much appreciate a person who talks about their math, because talking about your math is the most solid way you can do to give people an idea of what you did. He talked about spending 150 packs worth. He spent on a $100 bundle and a $50 bundle, and he bought 150 packs. And through that $150 worth of pack buying, he cracked 33 mythics, which put him at about a third of the mythics that there were in this extended set. Kaladesh Remastered is one of the sets that has been made to be a full block in itself, so it has a lot of cards in it. He was only able to get about a third of what the set had in terms of mythics. And then he extended that out to say that in order to get the entirety of the set's mythics, he would need somewhere in the $400, $450 range, which is fair. If you follow the idea of what he got being the norm, that would be the correct amount of money he would need simply buying packs in order to completely get all of the mythics from that set. Using that math, he extended it out further to say that a normal set costs this amount, a extended set like this one, a supplemental set, costs this amount. Plus, if you're going to get the things like the historic anthologies, which cost this amount, altogether, you could spend upwards of $1,700, maybe even more, on Arena getting the cards. And he was lamenting that fact. He thinks that that's too expensive, which is an opinion that has validity. If you are, and lamenting for the free-to-play players that doesn't put them on sort of an even keel in order to be able to keep up with the rapidly accelerating number of products that are being available on Arena, especially if they do want to eventually bring out Pioneer and make Pioneer a thing, and maybe even Modern a thing on Arena. It can be difficult to parse some of the things that I'm about to say with my own personal feelings on it. As far as my own personal feelings go on it, for the most part, I agree with SaffronOlive in the terms of free-to-play players do not get the chances that paying players get in order to keep competitive, especially on a historic ranking. They do not keep events around long enough for free-to-play players to really build up. They don't really give you enough rewards, and when rewards shrink from what we used to see them as, it can feel like you're getting something taken away from you. Like, even if you're given 3 packs every time and then they give you 1 pack instead, it feels like they are taking 2 packs from you. And on that, I can commiserate, I can empathize, I get it, and I do agree with that notion. What I don't agree with is the assumption of the cost of the game based on the way that he approached it. So, opening packs, just like in real life, opening packs is literally the worst way that you can get the cards that you want for a set. It's just not a very effective way of getting what you want. And I know that in Arena, there aren't a lot of options other than opening packs in order for you to get the cards that you want, but it's still the least effective way of getting the cards that you want. So I don't know why it's being used as the spearhead for this argument of how much Arena costs as an overall thing. When I talk about this, I really want to get into like the deep dives of stuff, and this is why I've never made a video on it, because I just don't have the excess time to really like just start a new account, start a free-to-play account, find out what I can get simply from playing the game and keeping things like spearheaded towards what a free-to-play player can do or will likely do, because one free-to-play player is different than another one. A free-to-play player like Scotty Nada, who's a Twitch streamer, who I have great respect for, is going to be very different in the approach of how they consume cards than a free-to-play player that is only playing a couple days on the weekend while they have some time in between grocery shopping, right? For some players, that person doesn't even register as a player, but they are. Don't get it twisted. So there's a lot to be said about the gaps between even free-to-play players, let alone free-to-play players versus paying players in any given tier. One of the things that makes this argument feel disingenuous, and again, I'm not saying that SaffronOlive is disingenuous. But what makes the argument feel disingenuous is the amount of gain that's happening versus the amount of money being spent. If you are simply looking to round out your mythic collection and make sure that you have every mythic in the game, then yes, you might have to spend upwards of $1,700 in a year in order to do that. Especially if your method of doing so is buying packs and then using wildcards simply to buy mythics that you don't have. That is only one kind of goal in this game, though. For SaffronOlive's work, where he's doing videos about making various different kinds of standard decks and exploring the way that deck brewing works, absolutely he has to have access to every card in the game at all times in order to make sure that he has the tools at hand in order to create what he creates. But there are dividends being paid that aren't being accounted for, such as the 150 that he put in did raise his vault progress at least a little bit along the way. Not all the way, but some. And that vault progress would incrementally become bigger as he spent more into that set trying to get every single mythic, which means he would have more wild cards to play with, getting more progress and getting along. Why? Because while he was not finishing the mythic portions of his track, I'm certain that he was getting very close to finishing the rares and the commons and the uncommons. When you finish the commons and uncommons in a set, every common and uncommon you pull from that set afterwards goes toward vault progress. And that vault progress gets you more wild cards in order to make more cards. Some people who play free-to-play will even tell you to spend your common and uncommon wild cards on a new set as soon as the new set comes out. That way you are quickly building vault progress in order to get more rare and mythics wildcards later. I don't know how feasible that is, but it does tell you another snippet of things that can't just be summed up by the small sampling size of $150. Other things that don't come into account from the way he did it are things that accrue you gems and gold by playing. So if you are the type of player who might spend $150 on, I don't know, drafting or sealed events, you are getting cards and accruing back some of that cost that you pushed. And depending on how good you are, you might be accruing all of that cost back. Now, is that likely 100% of the time? Absolutely not. Even the best players have a win record that is not 100%. They will lose, and they will lose on occasion taking gems with them. But if you've ever watched a pro player stream for 7 hours a day, 8 hours a day, and they are accruing 6 wins, 7 wins almost every draft they're doing, they are offsetting the cost of their last draft by 100% or more. By doing so, it gives them another draft, which gives them another set of packs, which gives them another chance to accrue gems. By using that technique, some of these players can effectively go infinite. It will not happen all the time, but it will occur where some players are good enough at these limited formats that they can accrue a big portion of their collection just from playing off of the same set of gems. The way that I tend to play is I play sealed events when a set first comes out. I put $100 into the game, or something close to that, sometimes 75, sometimes less, sometimes more. And I just play off of it until I've exhausted my gem pile. But that doesn't mean I'm only getting the original $100 worth of sealeds, because I'm okay at sealed. And a lot of times I go 7x on a sealed game, or 6x, which means that I get to put all those gems into another game of sealed. If I keep doing this, one of my biggest success rates was with Kaladesh Remastered. I was able to play Sealed Kaladesh Remastered enough that by the time Sealed left the arena queue, I had accrued 75% of my collection of Kaladesh Remastered. I was able to buy the rest of the packs that I wanted with my leftover gems from my original money. If you can play like that in every set, and I'm not saying you can't, but if you can play like that in every set, then you're spending $100 per set, which is way lower than buying packs, buying boxes in paper, Mitgo, or Arena. It's something to keep in mind when you are playing as an individual trying to amass a collection, and you just don't want to put as much money into it as someone else might put in. Finally, there's also the idea of your motives and your goals when it comes to this kind of thing. Sure, SaffronOlive needs every single card from Arena in order to do things. And in order to get those cards, sometimes he has to buy more packs, and that is not feasible for the average player. However, the average player does not need every single card in this game. They don't even need half of the cards in this game. All they need is enough cards to play a couple of different decks that they find engaging, and that's it. I know players who play Standard who buy into a Standard, and that is it. That's what they play for the entirety of the time. Someone you've seen on this channel before, my friend Adam, he goes and he started playing on Arena at Zendikar Rising. And he's been building his collection slowly enough that he is playing the decks that he wants to play, having fun with what he wants to do, and barely spending any money at all because he doesn't want to put that kind of money into the game. He's the closest thing I have to a friend who is playing free to play, and he's having as good a time with it as he could have. And he hasn't had to change decks once because he's just staying within the confines of what he wants to play. When I told him to pick up the historic anthology because he could pay for it with gold or gems, so he could pay for it with free currency that he already had, he told me, I don't play historic. And I was trying to future-proof him for the case that he might decide to play historic later. But he's right. If he never plays historic and he only ever plays standard, he will never, ever, ever need those cards. And if he doesn't need those cards, then he's not buying them. It's as simple as that. And I think more players are like that than we as enfranchised players like to give them credit for. Some players like playing standard. Some players love playing standard. Otherwise, standard wouldn't have been one of the most popular formats. In that notion, we cannot just say that you need to build your collection completely from the ground up, starting at the lowest of the low, all the way to 100% completion in every format. It's not true to the average player. I personally have quite a few cards in my statistics, but I have over 220 rare wildcards and something close to 40 mythic wildcards right now. So if I wanted to build any deck on the game, I can. I can build literally any deck. I could probably build any 3 to 5 decks and not run out of wildcards. I hold on to those in case that happens. If something comes out in Strixhaven that I just desperately want to play in Standard, I can get it. But I hold on to them for now because I don't need the cards I don't have. I'm not dying to play Dinosaurs in Ixalan right now, so my Ixalan is a little lame. If Dinosaurs get good because of a forward moving set and I want to play Dinosaurs later, that's what I use my wild cards on. And this is not a shot against players who like to play multiple decks. Some players love having multiple decks around and they love being able to build new stuff all the time, a new deck every week. But if you think about it, if you're a paper player who does that, you're spending quite a bit of money to do so. If you're a Mitgo player to do that, you are probably spending quite a bit of money to do so, unless you're using one of those rental services that SaffronOlive mentions in his article, which I think are great things for players like that. But Arena is not that game. Arena is its own game, and it has its own method of putting things together. If building a new deck every week is what excites you, then you will pay that extra money to get that setup, or you won't do that on Arena. And that's okay. I guess my point is, make sure to temper your expectations given the medium that you're playing with. I personally have not spent anywhere near $1,700 in order to keep current, and most of my sets are pretty filled out. But I'm also a very good sealed player and a decent drafter, so I can get my cards over time. The last thing I want to mention about this is actually the thing about over time. So SaffronOlive does admit, while he's talking about things, that he's talking about the instant gratification process, because in his article itself, it mentions that for people who can't or won't wait for time to fill in the blanks, this is the price that they could be looking at paying, and that is absorbent. But when I am talking to someone who I say can't or won't wait in order to get the things that they want, then I usually end up telling them you have to pay for it. That's just true of anything. If you want a new monitor for your computer, but you don't want to wait for it to go on sale, you're going to have to pay for it. If you want it the very next day, you got to pay for 1 day shipping. If you want to make sure that you get it and it's going to stay good for the rest of its life, you got to buy a lifetime warranty. This is not necessarily the way I want it to be, but this are the effects of capitalism. They are existing mechanics in our world that we have to play around. So either wait, allow your collection to accrue, or spend money and allow your collection to accrue faster. These are the choices that you've been presented with. And I would love it if there were some options that they made available to make that a little easier. Again, like I said, when you get 3 packs for Try M21, but you only get 1 pack for Try Kaladesh, it feels like a kick in the teeth. It feels like they were taking 2 packs from you that they did not have to take. And I agree with that. I also agree with the idea that in general they could be more generous with prize support and making sure that people were able to come back to zero faster, because on the long haul it wouldn't hurt their bottom line at all in order for them to make things for free-to-play players that allowed them a chance to catch up. What about like giveaways, where after a set's been out of rotation for so long, they did a thing where it's like, put in this promo code, it puts you into a raffle, 10 people in this raffle are going to win complete sets of Ixalan just for playing the game during the month of May. Like, it would hurt them none, because most of those players are not going to go out of their way to rebuild their Ixalan collection, and if they were going to do that anyway, they would pay the money in order to do it. So it would just be a good way to give back to your community that doesn't hurt your bottom line at all. I think that Magic needs more of those processes. But when it comes to the actual price of playing Arena, remember your personal expectations, remember expectations of capitalism, and remember that this is a game for you to have fun, and if you don't want to pay for it, don't pay for it. Anyway, that's all I have to say on this particular topic for now. Oh, it's really hard to keep these things condensed. If you have anything that you want to talk about civilly in the comments, please comment, let me know. Let me know what you think about this. Maybe I'm wrong. I never discount people's feelings, even if I don't agree with the mathematics behind what SaffronOlive said. I do not at all disagree with how he feels about the economy within Arena. It has exploitative mechanics in it. and it has things that make you feel like you've been cheated out of an extra dime for no reason. And I do not condone that on the part of Wizards. However, where we stand, you have to look at things objectively in all cases. So, objectively, give me your opinions. Let me know what you think. Let me know what evidence you have. Maybe I'm misinterpreting data. Maybe I'm not seeing things that you know better than I do. Maybe you've studied this yourself. I do want to hear from you. And as usual, follow me on all the things. Hit the like. Make sure that you subscribe. Show me that you care about these things that I'm prattling on about. And let me know what I can do to make this better for you. As always, I'm Dish, and everybody, out of the pool.